you're always looking to make money or find something that is a success. So if you're a business person, you're always looking for a business idea or a business plan that will be successful to you. That'll make you money. That'll afford you the lifestyle you want. It's not all about money too. I don't want to keep like money, but it'll give you the time to take off for your kids or let you make the calls and things like that. So,
welcome back to another episode of Intrepidus Podcast with your hosts Dan and Anthony, episode number 35. Today we have Bill Mitchell with Commando Pest Control. Welcome, Bill.
Thanks for having me, man.
So a little bit about Commando Pest Control. Haven't had anyone on the pod just yet that does pest control or is in the pest control business. So tell us a little bit about pest control and what you do.
Well, the business I have is mainly I deal with senior communities. When I purchased the business 20 years ago, I dealt with holiday cities and things of that nature. So my business is a little more niche, where I'm dealing with over 55, senior discounts, things of that nature. And that's, we do that.
What do you do? What's Commando do?
Well, Commando is a full service pest control company. We do everything from ants to termites. It was started as a termite inspection company. We did thousands of inspections on homes. We do any problem you have in your house with bugs.
So why the shift from termites only, it seems like, to total pest control? Is that just like a natural pivot of someone in your industry, or is this something that you saw?
No, I think this business was started by someone that the original owner focused on the termites because of the area they were dealing in and the development. Is like the Holiday City area. They were newer homes, so they started doing that, and they had thousands of houses to inspect. So the other stuff kind of fell secondary. We kind of brought it to more towns, more areas, and expanded it that way instead of just being in one development, even though that development had 15,000 homes.
Since then, you've branched out and created your own bug spray. Maybe you could talk to us a little bit about your bug spray we have here. It's called 100% natural green beret bug repellent, and it looks like it's pretty organic, children and pet friendly.
It's natural and organic. It's pet friendly, children friendly, what I call from infants to elderly you can use. And actually that came out of doing some research with the elderly about 12, 13 years ago. If you remember, we had like a bed bug epidemic, New York, everywhere. Bed bugs were everywhere. I looked into a natural way of treating the problem because I was thinking, I have a lot of people that are 60 and up. So maybe a natural solution would be a better thing when you're fogging someone's house. So we started fogging houses for bed bugs, things of that nature on a bigger spectrum. And then I was actually asked by some customers and other business people, could I stick that in a bottle? Because they traveled a lot, casinos, business trips. You could spray your headboard, spray your different things, and you'd have protection while you're on the road. So that's how the bottling started, in smaller increments.
Awesome. Do they get that like off of your main website, or you have a separate website for that?
What we did is we combined into just one website. It's commandogbs.com. So it does Commando and the Green Beret spray. So if you go to that website, and it'll say right on the main page, products, or if you're looking to book a service or anything like that,
You sell on Amazon too, or is it just on the website?
We don't sell on Amazon. We've tried some different areas, and I think we're going to move into that. But no, it's mostly been website and stores and like festivals, 2-day events, 3-day events, things of that nature.
Do you know how many units you sell a year? Just out of curiosity.
Probably 35,000 units.
Okay.
It's
popular. People like it.
I've been in sales my whole life. It's a product that really has no negatives. We don't get any backlash, no complaints. I mean, especially today's Facebook groups and all this stuff. I mean, you have the perfect meal and somebody will find, something on the plate. I haven't had any of this, and we've been bottling it for 15 years. And it just keeps growing as far as different uses or customers will write in, with what they've done with it. And we've actually expanded it into using it for yard sprays and bigger broadcasts. So you can do your whole property, you can do other areas and then, carry it with you. You know what I mean?
I'm good for like 10 bottles a year.
Really?
Yeah.
I should. I need bug spray, right? Because I get eaten alive. I don't know what it is. I cannot step outside without getting at least 15 mosquito bites in the middle of summer. But what is the most popular service that's requested of Commando?
Most requested service, like I said earlier, is termite inspections.
Okay.
Because we've done so many of them, and I guess that's where the business was built on. And then what I've seen is you actually have your different seasons throughout the season. The first thing that'll hit in April is the ants will come out. So you get a lot of calls on ants. Then following the ants, we get carpenter bees. The big bumblebee type ones that like to get into people's houses. They're also wood destroying like a termite. And then you move into the summer, people want their yards treated, mosquitoes, fleas, ticks, all that. So then we get into the yard spray. And then at the end of the season, we come out and we'll do, get you ready for the winter, like in the fall, prepare you for crickets, mice, anything that's going to invade the house over the winter. So you're not calling me January, 2nd at, 2:00 in the morning. I got mice. So we kind of get the people prepared, for what's to come, and they keep like a whole year service now. So that's what the business has evolved into, is a yearly instead of a one time a year, just stop and see you next year kind of thing. It's that's actually been the biggest growth, is having a customer you see multiple times per year.
Pretty awesome. So how did you start? Like, you've had this company for 20 years. You're still a pretty young guy. How did you start, like your sales background, your business background, your entrepreneurial background? Like, where did this all stem from?
It stems from just being an entrepreneur. That's what I mean. Since I've been a kid, I've been into, say hustling, doing things from selling Christmas cards to, multiple paper routes to, going through, just always looking to improve myself and try a business or think of something that someone might like. Or fill a gap that was out there. High school, college, I did a car detailing business. Ended up with a garage. Did that a couple years after I graduated from college. Started that business. So I always was into having my own business. Come from a family that had a couple family businesses, so I kind of would hear behind the scenes, how to build a business or what was working for them. And that was all old school stuff. Word of mouth. And I see my family build, decent sized businesses. So I always liked that, the allure of being your own boss. But I did multiple things. I actually bought this business. I was down Mystic Island flipping houses, and a guy I knew was a realtor, and we were doing this, that, and the other. And he was going to buy this business, and he owned it for only 3 years and wanted to sell it to me. He said he was getting out of the game. I really knew nothing about the bug business at that point. So I was back and forth, ended up pulling the trigger, and got a couple employees and slowly learned the business, got licensed by the state, did all that stuff. So, you learn by, just being around everything. And I had a pretty big business that we stepped into. It's kind of ironic. If I knew what I knew now and had the business back then, I probably would even be in a different position. But it was a learning curve, that way. And it's been a 20-year ride of ups and downs, sideward moves, upward moves, downward moves, but it's always sustained itself, and it's always been successful.
So what made you continue to do bug and pest control? Like, is there a passion behind it now? Is there something that you like, so much that you continue to do it? Or has it created a good lifestyle for you? Like, what's continued? Because it seems like you bought a business that was striving at one point originally, and it was super big, and your learning curve kind of like took it back. You took a back step here, like, hey, let me figure this thing out first, instead of trying to deliver to the marketplace what I don't know. So you got yourself right, and now you've built yourself up to a brand and a person and a company over 20 years. But what's kept you in the game? Like the lifestyle that you've been able to have, the business that you've been able to do, or what you bring to the marketplace?
Well, it's been a few things. If you ever owned your own business, I mean, there's challenges on one side, and there's rewards on the other side too. So I mean, it's risk and reward. I like the lifestyle that being your own, say, boss does, and the fact that you control different things. I was able to raise my kids and be around certain things. We were able to work, I guess you're able to do what you see yourself doing as the man in charge and try to run your best business plan. And what kept me probably in the game is, as you learned more about it, that end of the business took care of itself, like what bugs do this, or how to get rid of that or do that. That was just a learning curve. But after you meet your customers and you do things and you create friendships, or just I call it like mini friendships. These actually become like an extension of your friends and family that you see every year, and you see, throughout the time that you service them, and you get to know them. So I'm a people person. I like that end of it. I like to make money. There's profit in there. The margins and things of that nature were good. And the business ran well. We had a good team. We still do. And it was the man that started the business did a really good job. He kept it in a certain area. He kept the customers that knew exactly what they were doing. And at a marketing end, that's where I stepped in and said, wow, this is set up properly. And, we just took over. And as we figured it out, we went with it. We were doing
Awesome.
20 appointments a day right off the rip,
So what's it like buying a business 20 years? 20 years you bought Commando, right?
Yeah, it's 20 years. I can still remember it. I remember it, walking up and down my driveway outside the house, talking to the guy that wanted to sell it. And, I had to pull the trigger. I had to decide, did I want to do this? Because I was in other businesses. I was, like I said, I was at the time flipping houses. I had, degrees in finance and marketing. I played in that arena. I wasn't, a guy in a van or having guys work for me or things of that nature. So it was a total shift of my lifestyle, number one. And two, it was stepping into the unknown. And that, is both rewarding and, not scary, because, you really shouldn't have fear of anything,
I like that.
It was a challenge. It was something to could I do this? So I remember saying to the guy, yeah, let's do it. You know what I mean? Let's do this. And what even made it more challenging was I was buying a business that had no employees. No one was coming with the business. Mm-hmm. He had like a couple technicians that were leaving and this, that, and the other. So that really kind of kicked me back, because I was buying a business that did 2,500 termite inspections a year on 18-inch crawl spaces, if you know what they are. So it's, you're belly scraping, all day. And you have to know what you're doing. So my prayers were answered. I hired a couple people that were very good at what they did. I seen how the business had to run. It made me understand things more. And from that point on, it was really just running the business. I mean, like I said, I had business degrees or worked in business. That wasn't the problem. The accounting, the business, the appointments. We worked. That was all great. That was the first probably couple months just getting out there and kicking the dirt around and where the rubber meets the road kind of stuff. And that's how everything is.
So you had business acumen, so you weren't worried about the business aspect of things. But walk us through what a lot of listeners probably don't understand is 20 years ago, buying a business is significantly different than buying one today. I mean, I don't think biz, buy, sell was around 20 years ago. The internet was still really kind of in its infancy as in terms of, merchandising and buying and selling businesses. Definitely not as popular today. That's where M&A was huge and massive, had massive firms. So walk us through the process of, how do you identify, or how they find you, and then how do you make an offer? It's like, is it in a newspaper, right? Did you see it in a magazine? Like, did you have an agent? Walk us through that process.
This was at the time I was actually looking to invest into something, and I was actually looking at another business at the time too, and they both were businesses that were out of my wheelhouse
How'd
completely.
you find the businesses? Let's start there.
How I found the business was very old school, was just word of mouth on the street in your neighborhood, local businesses, men that, had them were either getting out of the business. One of the businesses, the gentleman was wanting to move to North Carolina. The other one was, he had personal reasons and wanted to shift into another direction. So it was kind of, we didn't have the internet like that, like you said, at all. It was just like, oh, I heard so-and-so might be doing this or doing that. And I mean, in the back of your mind, my mind now thinking too is you're always looking to make money or find something that is a success. So if you're a business person, you're always looking for a business idea or a business plan that will be successful to you. That'll make you money. That'll afford you the lifestyle you want. It's not all about money too. I don't want to keep like money, but it'll give you the time to take off for your kids or let you make the calls and things like that. So I always would look for something, whether it was a car in the newspaper or something I saw on the side of the road or a flea market or, a friend doing some kind of business. If there was a way to make something better out of that or make something bigger out of that, it just seemed to be the way, I grew up learning things or how the world worked.
So you call this guy because you find his ad or whatever, someone on the block, Danny's like, oh, by the way, this guy's selling his business. Right. You pick up the phone, you're just like, hey, I'm going to buy your business.
Yeah, well, pretty much actually, we, at the time I was buying and selling houses on the water. So I had my real estate license. So the guy I bought the business from worked at the real estate office too, like a part-time gig. So we kind of became friendly in other areas first. And he actually was telling me he was buying a business. So I had said to him, like, well, what are you doing buying a bug business? You work in this industry or that industry. Like, what do you know? He goes, all I know is the guy always comes in and the guy was selling baseball cards. He goes, he buys a ton of baseball cards from me and always got stacks of cash. And, this was back when baseball cards were big business. So that's what made that guy buy the business. So I'm like, hey, I kind of looked at it as like, that's a little weird. There's really no skills, no this, that, and the other. But even thinking of it now, I guess I bought it with even less because he at least got the workers that had been with the company for years, Why
weren't you able to keep the workers? Why did they bounce out on you?
That was just a deal that they didn't bounce on me. They just had told him they were done. Coming back. The one guy, had another job, I think, like I say, a union job and would kind of flip-flop this to make it. But the main guy, he was just moving on into like either another business or he was going to move up into Monmouth County. And we're mostly out of Ocean County, down into Atlantic County. I mean, we do Monmouth County, but that's what it really was. It wasn't like, hey, I don't like you. I don't know you. I don't want to do. It's just before we even, signed any paperwork, he was like, yeah, they all want to move into different areas.
Anthony asked before about the internet today selling businesses. I think I caught something. Back in the day, I don't know, you're probably still too young, but we used to look in a newspaper for shit. Yeah. And we were buying stuff, we'd look in a newspaper.
That's where I was hoping he was going with it.
He said it, but that's not how he got the business. I think he said it earlier. But, I remember going in the newspaper, whatever you were trying to do or buy, you'd literally look into classifieds ads in a newspaper, and that's how you would shop. And then it had Craigslist after that. Now you get all the other stuff. So, Bill, let me ask you a question. So there's a lot of big companies out there, and, I don't care to put people's names out there because I totally believe that companies like Terminex and all these other companies out there, they have a lot of marching soldiers for them, but there's really no value. It's all about selling the customer sometimes on things that they don't need, making people constantly pay, over recurring bills every single month, but they're not bringing value to the customer. So let me ask you a question if you can answer this. Why would somebody want to choose a company like you, Commando, versus going to this big company that's got Clipper coupons, unlimited deals, 30 trucks on the road? Why would we want to choose you?
Well, what you said is exactly right. And bringing it to the table is the bigger companies are exactly that. I joke around with my customers. I'm out in the field. I'm here. I'm there. I'm like, I'm the chef, cook, and the bottle washer. You get to see me. What I see the other companies do is they have, as you called it, soldiers or an army. First, they send the guy in khakis and a nice dress shirt to your house to sit down and tell you about everything. Then he sells you the plan. Then some guys show up to work the plan, and maybe it's not the same plan it should be or you shouldn't be on. No one's usually on the same page. And what I've noticed is I get a lot of business from them type of companies because their expectations haven't been met. You know, it's just give me your credit card, give me your this, give me your that. To the point now, my customers are like, I watch them on my Ring camera. Like they tell me they serviced my house, and I see they clearly just pulled up and sat in their car and drove away. You know, I mean, that story's happened more than you can think of. So that started getting me thinking, like, that was one of the areas. When I first got in the business, you have to do continuing education. You got to do different things of that nature. The inside of the business, pest control, would always be leery too of the big companies because they knew what they were doing. So they would say, you know, even if I'm not your guy, use a guy like me. Use somebody that's a family-run business, or you know, that they're you see where their offices are. It's not, you know, multi-level down to, you know, just getting contracts and you can't get the performance and the stuff. So that's really, people just get smart after a while throwing their money. That's what right now with the companies that are doing all these yard sprays and things like that. What separates us and Commando, and even with the Green Beret spray, is what I like to say is I'm a pest control guy that can do these yard sprays and things of that nature. They're just yard spray companies that can do that. So if you have a problem when you're there, they can't even help you. Like if you said, hey, by the way, I might have ants, I have this, I have that. Hey, we're just here to spray the yard. You know what I mean? So I have more tools in my bag, so to speak, where I can be a one-stop shop and, you know, we can do everything you need. And from earlier mention about all them crawl spaces and things we've done, we've actually become pretty much crawl space specialists. So we do all the things that are under a house that people don't want to do, you know, the vapor barriers, the insulation, the sump pumps, you know, things of that nature. So over the 20 years, that's been another area that we've developed that's been very good for the company because they're large ticket items, you know what I mean? And it changes the person's house. It changes even for your technicians to go down there. So that's been another area that has grown. But the difference between Commando and I call them like the franchises is that you're getting a personal service. You're getting someone that you're going to talk to. And we still don't even have, you know, you have to push buttons and stuff. You call us, we're old school. You get somebody live that'll take care of your problem that day.
Okay. So Commando could provide services on command.
Yes.
There you go.
Okay. There it is.
That's a tagline.
Like we
Yeah.
say
Yeah.
the slogan.
Go with the pros, go Commando.
Do you know
with the
Mike
pros.
from Crawl Space Innovations from Mystic Island?
Just from his advertising on, say, Facebook things.
He was just on our podcast.
driving
Most
around.
recently, you guys should connect with each other. I think you guys could work together. You know.
Yeah, I've definitely. He's from his pictures and stuff. He knows his game inside out,
Yeah.
upside down.
Oh, he was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, his episode just went live last week. So let me talk to you something about personal development, because I truly believe that you wouldn't be in the space you are today or the person you are today if you didn't go through personal development, if you didn't continue to be in personal development, because going through the ups and downs like you talked about before, business is up, left, right, side, every single direction you're talking about, that takes a lot of people out. And, you know, I'm just going to be an employee. I'm just going to get a check. But you talked a little bit earlier off set how, like, when you were young, Tony Robbins inspired you, and you were part of a personal development space. What has that done for you? What has that done to your mind, to your game, to your positioning, to help you be the person you are today?
That's done tremendous things. That's given me some of the things we talked about. It's been 30, 40 years. I was a kid, you know, I was probably 23 years old when I saw Tony Robbins for the first time, and, you know, read books like Think and Grow Rich, and, you know, had other mentors, people that were in front of you that were doing, you know, at that time, $50,000 a month, and this, and, you know, telling you how you can do certain things. And you had to, you know, regimen yourself or learn, or, you know, rich people have rich ways, poor people have poor ways. You know, I mean, it's a learned behavior. And what's carried me through all this is number one, I have incredible faith. I mean, that's my personal thing. Faith in God. No fear with that certain. With the way I live my life. But to learn all them, to be out there and to learn all them principles, I use it. I use them every single day. Like, people don't develop their minds like that, but it works. I mean, that's the bottom line. It works. You don't get yourself worked up. You figure it out. It works itself out. There's always somebody that has it worse than you or different than you. I remember a guy, this is how old I'm getting. A guy said, "Hey, who do you think has more financial pressure on their head, you or Ted Turner?" You know what I mean? Like, we look at people and say, "Oh, they're rich, they're this, that." But you know what? They're dealing with their empires and their stuff too. So if you use the principles, and they're principles, and a lot of them are even biblical. It'll give you the success you need, and not to be afraid. And like you said, a lot of people won't walk it out there. They won't hang it out. You know what? Life usually happens, and it happens for me. I don't know about other people. Happens for me in the 11th hour. Everything goes down at the end. And you gotta stay to the end.
That you talked about faith, so I don't want to cut you off, but I think it's important. And you said faith in God, that's my thing. But I'm a true believer in God and what He does, and I believe faith is the substance of all things hoped for, and every single thing that we do, it is a crunch, and as long as we believe we can achieve, and we know that all these things are going to be gifted to us as long as we show up, right? So at the end of the day, I think it's important you talk about biblical principles, for the listeners who have faith and believe in a higher power of some sort. How does that play a role? Like you talked about the 11th hour. It's so true that like you're going through the motions, and you always, have this, I just want to quit. We have these feelings as business owners. We all do. Like, why do I do this shit? You know what I mean? And then it's like, literally you
Right.
plow through,
Right.
it's like I talk to people, like you're just plowing through the storm. And at the end, all you see is a mound, and you get to be like, wow, I created all this, right? So like, how does faith play a part in your life? It's important to talk about.
Yeah, it controls everything. I mean, like it says in the Bible, and this too shall pass, and they all pass. And you can recount all the situations that you've gone through, that you live through. I mean, we go through it even in the wintertime. There's not as many bugs in New Jersey in January as there are in June. So you learn to prepare, you learn principles, hey, stock some stuff away, do the right things, work. But you still wake up sometimes at 5 o'clock in the morning, thinking like, what's today going to bring, or what do I got to do to make this stuff happen? So, what I do is I go right back to my faith, and within a couple minutes, I'm calm, I'm collective. And then you know what? Another year goes by, and another year goes by. I've been talking about this stuff with my one friend for 25, 30 years. Every winter, we'd be like, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? I just said to him, I'm like, yo, Don, you're 60 something now. I'm 56. We've been talking about this since we were in our 20s. I said, obviously, God provides. You get through everything. So I try to channel where that other wasted energy would be into channeling into the right thing, because that's the thrill of getting through it. And once you're done getting through it, you're like, hey, I can take a bigger piece of the pie. I can do this, or I can expand myself. It's so true what you said. That's how you have to be, because every day will give you a challenge, and take it as a challenge and not a negative. I try not to get into negatives and things of that. There's always something positive, even in your worst situations. There's something positive. Even when I had an employee stealing from me, I learned something out of that for the next time. You know what I mean? I learned this, I learned that. You know what I mean? The buzz on the internet now, everybody is talking about, the main thing is, the more you fail, the better you are, because most people are afraid to fail. And before you can fail, you got to try. So, I mean, it's a 1, 2, 3. First you got to try it, then you got to be bad at it, then you get good at it. You know what I mean? It's
You gotta suck before you're good.
Exactly. You know what I mean? You got to put the time in. It's the craziest things. It's just the most basic things. You do it over and over again, you'll become a master at it. I don't care if it's spraying a sprayer at someone's house, or doing my books. You learn. You know what I mean?
Yeah. One of the most, someone says that the most expensive item that we pay for as entrepreneurs and business owners is ignorance, right? The longer that you don't know the thing in order to get you to the place that you need to be, the more expensive that thing becomes,
Right.
right? Because obviously compound, things cost more.
Yeah, I'm a big believer. Yeah, I'm a big
time is not
believer
friendly
in
to us at all.
in learning and going out there. Like you had said earlier about Tony Robbins or the different people. Like I want to hear what people have to say, and I want to get educated. Whether it's chemistry or the Bible or whatever. I want to read it for myself. I want to make a call. I want to do some research. I want to do all them different things. So I look at things sometimes different than other people. It's like I'm not afraid to go out there and apprentice with somebody or pick somebody's mind or want to be around somebody that has something to offer. I'm not a know-it-all. I'm not, got all the answers, this, that, and the other. So I do, go around to, different, surround myself with the right people to be on the path that I want to be on. Whether it's in my faith, whether it's in business, whether it's out camping, whether it's out having a good time, bug spray, whatever, you learn from everybody. I talk to a 95-year-old customers. If you really listen to what people have to say out there, they do have knowledge and wisdom, and they've been around longer than us. So I feel everybody has something to give. We just need to kind of get kneecap to kneecap with each other like we're doing right now. And,
you shouldn't have the patience to listen, right?
Right.
Like the 95-year-old might speak a lot slower than, probably 90% of the people you walk into on an average day. But to sit there and really listen and observe, the mountain of knowledge that person probably has. But you talked about faith, right? And that you're a believer. It allows you to kind of get through your days. You've been through the lulls, the ups and downs of business. So maybe that doesn't bother you on an average day, but when we put our head on the pillow at night, one of the curses of being an entrepreneur or in business is your mind typically races, right? You have something that you need to overcome in your head or in your business, your personal life. What typically keeps you up at night when you put your head in the pillow?
I'm pretty good with not staying up or worrying about things because I go, like I said, I go right into either a prayer mode, or a game planning mode. I don't let the problem say crawl all over me. I rather be on the offense and take care of the problem. But I would say with most businesses or anything out there, it stems from economics, money. They're the issues, because if I had an unlimited war chest to do whatever I wanted to do, I wouldn't think about that, but it'd be some other problem. It probably would be personal problems or a family problem, or there's always something that's going to come at you. And I've had, even in the past, a couple times, some pretty nasty medical issues. And, I read something the other day. It says, they did a survey and all this. When you're in the hospital and something happens, the only two things that people worry about is God and their family. And it is the truth. You ain't thinking about, am I going to be 30 days late on a credit card when they got you with a tube down your throat and a guy saying your heart's not slowing down and blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? We create this stuff. The world puts this in our faces. Things are moving so fast. I think you just need to take a breath back. Things will be okay. They've been okay. We're all business owners here. We've all had the ups and downs. We talk about it. We get through it. But I think, a lot of it is sharing and evolving into business. Like Dan said earlier, the newspaper and all that was a life source for everything. Now I can just talk while I'm talking to you right now and search something and figure something out and do this and make an appointment all in 3 minutes. So we've become more efficient, but I don't think we've become more, I don't want to say satisfied or calm. Our lives are more fast. People are working harder. Where years ago, I do have some of that old school. I remember what it was like to sit after dinner and open up the classifieds and be like, hey, that's a good deal. Where's he at? Oh, Deptford? That's about 20 minutes away. Now you don't even know. Now you don't even know who's contacting you. What's a good thing? Is it a scam now? Is it this? Is it that? So we've lost a lot of, of that stuff. But, getting back to what you say is the problems at night, I can't have them because there's always something that could worry you.
Yep.
if it's not the money, because I've found out all of a sudden my season starts. Now I'm making money. Now there's something else to worry about. Now a tooth's loose. Now something's happening. Now the kids are, whatever it may be. There's always something. But without that, we wouldn't have our lives, wouldn't have this and that. And other people have it worse than us, better than us. So I used to remember a line people would say, don't compare, compete. You know what I mean? Don't worry about what he's got or this. Get out there in the game if you want it. I know where I'm at exactly in life at all times. If I want more of this or that, another, I know what knobs I got to turn and what things I got to do it. And is it worth it to do it, or is it not worth it to do it? That's what it's come now at 56 years old is, where will I take the rest of my life? What do I want to do? Yeah, like I don't want to retire and just shrivel up somewhere. To me, retirement would be doing projects you wanted to work on, other businesses and things like that. Once you're an entrepreneur or a business person, you like working. You like making more things happen.
That's a fact.
The hard part is usually if you're an entrepreneur that starts with no capital or no this or no that, that's your struggle in the beginning. Once, it always goes that way. And not falling into then crazy ways. Once you're like, oh God, once I get to this point, then all of a sudden your mind goes this way and you waste everything you've been building for. You know what I mean?
I think one thing, if anyone listening today can learn from you, is that adversity builds you and creates your character, creates who you are. You have to have failure. You got to go through it. And you're at a point right now where it's like you've built a bulletproof vest on your life. And anything that's shot at you, hey, listen, there's another shot coming. I just got to keep going, and I'm not going to dodge it. I'm just going to run through it. And I think a lot of people don't understand that. So regardless of the caliber of business that you're at or caliber of place that you are in life, you're happy with where you are. If you want more, you can go out there and get it. You've built yourself into become a bulletproof individual, which is very, very hard for entrepreneurs. A lot of guys, drink at night, do drugs, do whatever to, keep themselves afloat. Even though they're great business owners, they keep themselves in a position where they got to kind of feed the pain with something else, but you use your faith and you know that you can get through it. So I think it's incredible that you've been able to build yourself into this point from your early 20s to now 56, 30 plus years later. And you know that you're unstoppable. And no matter what's going to happen, it's inevitable. The devil's going to play hardball with you, but you know what your prize is. You know what you're going after to be the best version of yourself. So I think that's applaudable. And I take my hat off to you because I just listen to you say all these things. And I just go, man, this guy can literally be thrown in a ditch and he's going to come right out. He might be bleeding, but he's going to step up out of it.
Yeah, but you had to, I mean, I guess we're, not to get I didn't have a hard luck, story of life, but I didn't come from a silver spoon, this, that, and the other. If you wanted to do things, if you wanted to go to college, you wanted to make a better life for yourself, you had to do it. And what you have a great, because like my first time doing a podcast, you have a great way of listening and taking out really what came out of this. Because I know I've stumbled, didn't get the points I wanted to get across, or maybe over talked and under talked, but you pulled out exactly the points of what's going on and what needs to be done. And that's what I forgot earlier to say is what you were saying about adversity. That's really what the buzz has been in my life the last couple months. I don't know if the internet's promoting it or anything. It's not how much you get beat up or how bad you get beat up. It's how many times you keep getting up. And that's what we're all saying is I just have a mentality is you got to get up. There isn't another choice. And you know what? But after you do it, you end up realizing it's not so bad getting up, and it gets better, and you learn more, and them things don't make it hard in life. I even had my mother a couple of weeks ago said, she goes, you just have a different way of dealing with things, even these heavy things, the way you break them down or talk about them, because at the end of the day, you'll get through it. And that's the whole reason of the faith, believing in something that you can't prove.
Something's hitting you right now. I see it.
Yeah. I've had some good days. I had some good, even before this, people called me, prayed for it, said it's going to be abundant, things will flow. And yeah, I'm feeling it. So that's another point. What you got out of me is I like to keep it real. Whether it's talking to my customer, whether it's making a deal, whether it's on a podcast or doing this, you get me.
Yeah, Anthony just said it good before, and so did you. you listen to people. So while you're talking here, I'm listening. Anthony's listening. You listen to the 92-year-old, and you're breaking our shit. But it's okay. But at the end of the day, listen, we hear you. We understand. And what I like about you, out of any guest that's ever been on our podcast, you literally just talk from your heart. It came out of your eyes, and you're feeling something, and God's pouring something in you. Whatever's happening to you right now, like you're being 100% transparent, and you're being vulnerable to however life is treating you right now, but you want to share that with other people. And that's super powerful, man.
Yeah, we thank you for your authenticity.
Yeah,
for sure.
that's the only way I can be. But you're absolutely right, Dan. I don't know what's getting me right now, but it's got me, you know, thinking about stuff. I guess it's just you guys asking me about my journey.
Right.
And it's almost like when you're in church or something, it grabs me like this or different things because I know it's real. And I know that's what controls it all. I mean, we could all make it so easy if we just listen to really what's out there for us, what God's telling us, what's guys like you are out there promoting and saying and doing. All the principles come together in the line. Maybe that's what got me emotional or gets me doing that. But I like the realness because it's God saying now too, like we're going to go to another level. We're going to take this thing higher.
We appreciate it as much as
you know what I mean? It's yeah, like I've seen your podcast. Oh, you guys are so professional. Everything is great. And I'm not just a guy. I'm doing my thing. Like you
listen,
said,
bro,
I'm
we all go through it, bro. I'm getting my
Right.
ball suit off right now.
You know what
But
I
at
mean?
the end of the day, like, fuck it. What am I going to do about it?
You know,
I'm not going to sit here
my,
and worry
my
about
worst
it.
problem is, you know, my van's starting to rust out or something. Like, like I'm pulling up like I'm ghetto. I'm like, but you know where you've been, you know where you're going, you know where it's at, and this is exciting. Like stuff like this is, like you said, first time doing this, that, and the other. Maybe if one person, it's just like with faith. If one person hears one thing out of something, it can change everything.
100%.
100%.
You know what I mean? I might just be here for one sentence. You know, even in my garbled up malarkey, can't wait to get it. Can't wait to get it out there. I'm much better a talker than I was today, but you know, it's a start. Exactly. I mean, and hopefully I'll get invited back to other podcasts, and people will see my business grow and see different things by applying the principles you guys are showing, what we're doing. You know, just being out there. I think there's a whole movement in America right now. I think people want to get back to basics and get back to just working hard, doing the right thing, feeling the right way. And I think we'll all thrive as a nation, as a country, you know.
Agreed.
We
I
appreciate
think,
you being vulnerable, man.
yeah, really appreciate you sharing your story. You know, one of the issues or troubles that we have as entrepreneurs is the simple fact that we're always looking forward. So we never really get a time to sit back and reflect, and you just kind of hit on that. It's like I never really talked about the trials and tribulations that I went through, the things that I had to deal with, and that helped me become the man, then business owner and father that I am today. So appreciate you sharing with us, being vulnerable,
I appreciate
being
you guys
authentic.
bringing it out of me, because you know what that made me just think now is, yeah, no, there's when you are sometimes the front of the train or whatever you're doing, you don't have as many people to go to because you're always helping, fixing, wanting, doing others for others. That keeps your things going. But sometimes it's nice to be around like-minded people or the same thing, and you can let your stuff.
I think that's why as entrepreneurs we all hire coaches. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
we have
100%.
We have coaches that we pay X amount of dollars because
I've
they have the insight for us. They do the stuff for us. Like on Friday, I had a shitty day on Friday, or it was Thursday. And I was like literally in the gym. I didn't know what was going on. And I was just like trying to pump it out in the gym. And I'm like, fuck, my mind's like going nuts. So I literally text my coach and I'm like, yo, like, here's what's going on, bro. Like, you're the only one who can help me. And he literally got me fucking from 0 to hero in 30 seconds, you know, like same shit. Like this too shall pass. It's all going to go through you. And, you know, we're going to get punched in the back of our head. But
no, you're. I have you know, another really good friend, has a very, very successful business, hard worker. He's my guy I go to for, you know, anything with legalities, this, that, and the other. He's a lawyer. He's real estate. And he just puts my mind there. But you know what? Last time I met with him about a year ago with something else, he has a very high-priced person that, you know, does his seminars and goes here, and I'm talking, you know, whatever 6-digit kind of thing, but it's getting him the results, and he's happy for it. It's working for him, and you know what? That's it in a nutshell. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter what you pay somebody or what you do. It's what you get out of that, and you know where it takes you to help others. And I think that's what turned my main business, and I talked to you about it, is when I really started focusing on what could be more done for serving and doing God's work and the right work and not Billy's work. Everything changed and everything got better. And, God's not around just so I can drive a Ferrari. You know what I mean? He's not Santa Claus. And I get that. And a lot of people live their lives thinking that's the relationship. And that's not where I wanted it to go. So it's,
Fantastic. Well, really appreciate you being on the pod, Bill.
Thanks for having me.
I know you shared it before about the website, but tell the audience how to find you. I know that the season's coming. The season's here. So how do they find
Season
you?
is here. Yeah. I'll get a little plug in for my Green Beret spray and Commando. There's one website that's commandogbs.com. Okay. That'll do everything. You can also go to greenberetspray.com. That'll just forward you to the other website. But yeah, look for us. We'll be doing festivals in Smithville and Brigantine. We're in a lot of the fishing stores, things of that nature. And I appreciate you guys having me on.
Awesome, man. Thanks for being on, Bill. Thanks for being vulnerable. Thanks for being fully transparent. I think it's going to really help the audience, and it's helped you bring things out that maybe you weren't bringing out. And hey, guys, we appreciate you listening. Check us out on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music. We appreciate you.
Please subscribe. Talk soon.